Hello friends, welcome back to GK Sports India YouTube channel. And here, the Kumbi Gikku show, where K Srinath, former player and now BCCI-panel umpire, and I preview the upcoming two-test series, India versus South Africa, starting in Kolkata on 14th of November, the Children's Day. So, without much ado, welcome Sri, welcome to the Kumbi Gikku show, and how have you been? And it's quite chilly, isn't it? The winter has already set in.
Thanks, Gikku. I'm doing well, and the early signs of winter. And last game around a couple of days back, I was in Hyderabad, where in the mornings and evenings we could just feel that nip in the air. So it's a good sign for the next 3 or 4 months. I think India can sit back and we can enjoy the winter in India.
Yes, and also we can enjoy some good cricket after the one-sided contest, India versus West Indies, not long ago. It is going to be an exciting series. India will be up against South Africa, who have had a decent record in India, though in the last 8 test matches dating back to 2010. India have won all the matches except one, which was rained off. And you know very well, it was the Bangalore test match, 2015, November. So around the same time, 10 years ago. It was also the AB de Villiers' 100th test match. So it was washed out. Otherwise, India have been dominating South Africa in India like they have dominated over us whenever we have visited India. So 2 test matches starting on Friday. What are your thoughts on the upcoming tests?
Well, in fact, South Africa, I would say, is very well prepared. You mentioned about the last 10 years where South Africa has not had a lot of success in India. India has, had the upper hand, beating them in all the test games that they've played here. Well, 2015, the game that was washed out in the Chinnaswamy Stadium, I think that was a historic game in terms of technology and what infrastructure KSA bought, and also was history. It was the first stadium in India which got in the sub-air system, wherein, any amount of rain, the rain stops in the next 20 minutes, the game can start on. So that is what the 2015 test match was about, and comes to my mind. Well, certainly, this can't be a series that you can look at in the likes of what happened against the West Indies. As I mentioned, South Africa have had a decent run when they played on ranked turners 2 test matches in Pakistan. They had a 1-1 draw. And after that, their A side was in India prior to this first test match in Kolkata. They played 2 back-to-back 4-day games in the Center of Excellence in Bengaluru, where they got a taste of what could be in store for them in the 2 test matches coming up. Certainly an exciting series. I always mention that, bowling has never been a problem with South Africa. Their fast bowling unit or their spinners over the past also, they've had some quality bowlers. But when they have toured the subcontinent, the issue always has been with their batting. I think if their batting can come good, I think certainly, India will have a tough time in the series.
We'll come to batting a little later, but talking about bowling, they have 3 good spinners. Keshav Maharaj, a world-class left-arm spinner. They have brought back Simon Harmer, who also visited India 10 years ago. But he has had a sporadic career in terms of tests, playing only about 12 test matches in more than 10 years or so, with 2 big gaps between a test series. So how much of that will help or will not help South Africa, because he has not played much, but he has had success in Pakistan. He came back into the test squad after a long time for that Pakistan tour, played a match-winning role, drawing the series 1-1. How much will that help South Africa when they take on India?
Well, there can't be comparisons between the 2 sides like India and Pakistan. India, of course, is an outstanding side, and they are one of the best sides that play spin. And along with these 2, you left out Muthuswamy, who had a major role to play. I think these 3 spinners put together in the 2 test matches, they had 33 wickets, between them. Coming to that, they would also have their 2 fast bowlers who would be turning out. One, the lanky left-armer, and Marco Jansen, also who's no mug with the bat. And of course, the world-class right-arm fast bowler in Kagiso Rabada. They also would have a very, very important role to play in this test match series. In case we get to see some reverse happening in Kolkata, Rabada will be more than a handful. Having spoken about the spinners, I think they are going to be up against a quality Indian batting lineup, and it won't be like a walk in the park for them like they had in the test matches in Pakistan. And mind you, our openers, especially Shubman Gill and KL Rahul, and the top order, they're all excellent players of spin. But as we discussed in the opening, I think they are going to be more than a handful. And also, mind you, India would certainly not look at trying to prepare that sort of dust balls which they did against New Zealand last year. And that was the one-off series where India will draw a blank against New Zealand. So that certainly also is something that we would not be getting to see. But yes, Indians also would have the challenge, depending on how they counter the new ball attack. If they go in without losing a wicket against a new ball, I think the South African spinners, in case they play all three of them, which I have my doubt, we will find it tough. But overall, this looks like a potent bowling attack, which can cause a bit of headache for the Indian batters.
And speaking of South Africa batsmen, almost all of them have played in India. They have the T20 experience playing in IPL for a lot of years. How much will that help, or they have to forget the T20 format, play Test cricket the way it has to be played? How much of those learnings they can put into the Test matches?
Well, the experiences of Tenda Bavuma and Adrian Markham, and of course, we've got the exciting Brevis, who's had a taste of IPL. We've got Tristan Stubbs. We've got Ryan Rickleton. All these guys, have played in the subcontinent, in India, especially in the IPL. So to an extent, they would be familiar with the conditions. Yes, of course, white ball cricket, T20 and red ball cricket are two different formats, and the test match cricket is going to be extremely challenging. Having said that, they did really well in Pakistan as a batting unit also. And obviously, one thing you can expect from these batters is we can see a lot of sweeps and reverse sweeps coming up when our Indian spinners are in action. And they certainly would have done a lot of homework, discussing about Kuldeep Yadav, Washington Sundar, Jadeja, Akshar Patel, as to where the meeting point should be for them to pick the line and length for them to be swept. Because once it starts turning, unless and until you're sure about your defense, there's going to be a cordon that's going to, get you out very easily. So though it is an inexperienced batting lineup on paper, most of these batters have had experience of playing in India and they are very well aware of the conditions. So it's going to be an exciting two test matches, unless, something totally goes haywire and we see South Africa just fall down like 9 pins.
And their captain Temba Bavuma was not part of the Pakistan tour, coming back from injury, but he has had the experience of playing in India test matches. How crucial will he be? And he is one who will not be having that T20 experience, but play test cricket the way it has to be played. And let us not forget, he led South Africa to their ICC World Test Championship final in June. So coming as the WTC champions, how will South Africa fare in this tests, having that expectation of being the world champions in test format?
Well, certainly they would underplay that tag of saying that they've been the world champions. They certainly would not have it at the back of the mind, because back-to-back in the next cycle coming and living up to the expectation and pulling it off is a tough one, because you're going to encounter different teams in different conditions. In fact, their coach himself has said that this is going to be one of the toughest two test matches they're going to play. Having said that, the last 15 test matches they played in the subcontinent, be it Bangladesh or Sri Lanka or Pakistan, they've had success. So that means, they have come out to prove a point. And I think the final destination for them is India, where, one of the finest spin bowling attack, not to do away with our fast bowlers. They certainly have a task on hand. Yes, an unassuming character, Tenda Bavuma, not somebody, who's very vocal or very animated on the field. But he did the job for South Africa last year when the odds were against them and nobody gave them even an iota of chance. He put them in the WTC finals against the mighty Aussies, wherein they had no chance. That's what was spoken about. But he proved everybody wrong, and the World Championship title was with them. Yes, Bavuma, his calmness on the field, and of course his form with the bat would be very, very important for South Africa. And he's going to be a very vital cog in this wheel. A very dodgy cricketer. And yes, having had the experience of playing test match cricket in India before, I think a lot of the youngsters who are going to play red ball cricket for the first time in India would look upon to Tenda Bavuma or somebody like Adrian Markham. I think he's going to be a very, very key figure in this South African lineup.
And this being a two-test series, before they get into form, the series is almost over. So how would you look at it? A two-test series? Are you in for two-test series, or with teams like India, South Africa, you have at least three tests in a series, isn't it?
True. I think when top sides play, I think at least it should be a minimum of three matches. As you mentioned before, they can get used to the conditions or acclimatize themselves. By the wink of the eye, they would have just lost a test match and they walk into the second one. And it's a no-brainer again. They get into the eastern part of the country, and first time test match happening in Barsapara in Guwahati. How will they cope up to that? Yes, the ideal scenario would have been a three test match series, but paucity of time, the way the FTP has been drawn, I think they've taken a lot of things into account. But we just see five test match series contested between the three nations. That's the big three: India, England, and Australia. Whereas hardly we get to see the other nations play three test match series. I think at least South Africa, New Zealand should be teams where India at least should be contesting the three test match series. But not an ideal, situation wherein you get to tee off and play two test matches. Well, South Africa can't afford to put any foot forward in a wrong way. If they do that, the recovery time is too less for them. As we were discussing, by the time we talk about the first test, the second test would be done, and the test series would be done and dusted. So it's very, very important for South Africa to start on a positive note.
Right, and a test match returning to Kolkata after more than 5 years. What can we expect? We have seen in the past it helping the batsmen a lot, batsmen scoring runs freely. Test match cricket in Kolkata, only the names of Mohammad Azharuddin, VVS Lakshman come to mind because they score runs by the tons. And of course, who can forget that famous test match 2001, India versus Australia, 281 by VVS Lakshman, 180 by Rahul Dravid, and Harbhajan Singh just running through the Australians after being enforced follow-on and defeating Australia. So what can we expect from this in terms of the pitch and the ground conditions?
Well, from the information we've got, I think it's out saying that there's going to be 2 mm of grass on the pitch, which would ideally, to start off with early winter in Kolkata, we could see the seamers get a bit of help on it. Maybe late on day 2 or day 3, we certainly would expect the pitch to assist the spinners. Having said that, the nature of the pitch, if it's going to be abrasive, we certainly could expect some reverse swing happening. So overall, I think it's going to be a good contest between bat and ball. And the only thing we hope for is it should not be a case wherein, and certainly we are not going to see a dust ball, wherein the ball is going to spin square from, session 1 or day 1 itself. And we are going to see heaps of wickets come down. But having said that, we need to look at test matches that go at least into day 4 or early on day 5, wherein there's a good contest between bat and ball. So, of course, pitches have been relayed. Kolkata can make those sort of bouncy pitches, which can help faster bowlers. They can dole out real belters. But I think from the information that we have received, this is what the pitch condition is going to be. And yes, faster bowlers will stay in the game up front every day early in the morning. And once, the ball gets older, there could be some help with reverse. Again, we could see them back. But I think the spinners would have a major role to play in this game.
So how much would the Indian batters especially be prepared to face the South African bowling challenge? Kahis Rabada, you mentioned Marcus Jansen, and their spin trio. Indian batters, you think they are good, better prepared to face these South Africans?
Absolutely. I think, we are born and bred on such tracks wherein we get to play spin day in and day out. Whereas it's something new for the South Africans, though they've had success in the last 12 months playing in the subcontinent. I mean, India wouldn't be, fretting too much over trying to plan as to how they need to get over the spin attack of South Africa. They will take it as it comes. And also, it cannot become a case wherein, the toss becomes a decisive factor, which we saw in the test series against New Zealand, where India lost the toss when they were up against the wall when they had to bat fourth. I think that would not be a case here. I don't see that, it's going to be a threat posed by the South African spin trio. If at all three of them play, which I have my own doubts. But even if all three of them play, I think, India will be wary of what they're going to get. And certainly, they are adept enough, and they certainly will be well prepared to take up the challenge posed by the South Africans.
And on that note, your playing 11 for this Kolkata Test match, India?
I think India would go in with three spinners. In that, we have two all-rounders in the wake of Washington Sundar and Jadeja. The third one would be certainly Kuldeep Yadav. Of course, tough. Aksar misses out in my playing 11 because it's going to become difficult if you play a fourth spinner along with the two fast bowlers in Jasprit Bumrah and Prasidh Krishna. I think the way the management is looked at and the news that has been floating around from the pressers looks like Dhruv Jurel. He's going to play in the 11 as a batsman because of his back-to-back hundreds he made in the recently concluded unofficial test games against the Proteas. I think that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to, because he's a high-quality player who can walk into the East Indian side as a batter. Of course, his keeping skills are amazing. Welcome return of Rishabh Pant, who got two good scores in the two India A games he played. And a no-brainer, it would be Jaiswal, Rahul, with the sort of backing Sai Sudarshan has been getting from Gautam Gambhir and the management. I think he'll walk in at 3, followed by it'll be the captain, then Rishabh Pant and Dhruv Jurel. And I mentioned the trio, then it could be Washington, Jadeja. Then we have Kuldeep, the two fast bowlers. So that's my probable playing 11 from India.
Yeah, I was going to ask about Dhruv Jurel and how good he batted that he can make it into the playing 11 just as a pure batsman. And of course, the welcome return of Rishabh Pant, who had some sort of concerns even in that game against South Africa, getting hit on the elbow and those sort of things. But I think that's just part of Rishabh Pant's game, that he is known to getting hit, and it's usual self, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's a fighter. I think it's one of those rarest things, but not many people would have even thought of surviving and coming back to normal life after that, road accident which he was involved in. Coming back after that, 1 year he made a comeback. Then again, after this freak injury in England, he's made a comeback in 3-4 months, and he's back to full flight cricket. I think he's a very tenacious cricketer, and he carries, a lot of pride in what he does. Certainly, yes, he's a gutsy cricketer and somebody who leads by example whenever he's out on the field. Great to see a character like Rishabh back on the field.
So fantastic, and looking forward to exciting days of cricket ahead in Kolkata. Thank you very much, Sri, and fantastic listening to you. Wonderful thoughts on the team and what we can expect in Kolkata. See you at the other end of the test match, and have a nice weekend. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.